Welcome everyone. Very quick first day recap of my experiences on the new patch, playing the new elemental infusion mechanic. I'm just playing here in the background, actually live as I'm recording. It's just going to be a single take, very quick video sharing my experiences and maybe some tips along the way, some build ideas. I really want to make a disclaimer, this isn't a build guide per se. I went into the patch quite blind and didn't know what to expect. Just got into T1 maps, so got through the campaign, took my time a little bit with Act 4, make sure I didn't miss anything. Went infernalist for my own reasons, which I'll get to a bit later, but Demon Form's obviously absolutely fantastic in the new form, being able to use your weapons. As you can see here, before I go into the specifics, it's basically centered around using predominantly Spark with Cold Infusion. Let's see if you can see here, I pick up a Cold Infusion, fires off that Nova of Sparks. That gives you a pretty decent idea of the gameplay. I'll just quickly go back to town so I can actually concentrate and show you guys a few things. So, very first impressions of the mechanic. The new spells are very powerful when comboed with the infusions. For instance, just quickly, Spark. If you have a look at the Spark damage per second, 12,000, cold infused, almost double the amount. And it's pretty much a similar story for most of the abilities that can be infused. Very quick reason I went for Spark is I did actually originally want to go with Arc, but for some reason just found it very clunky when I first picked it up, especially in single targets. And just really quickly transitioned back to Spark. The frost, kind of the Spark Nova that it creates when you pick up a cold infusion, which I'll just quickly show again. Use Frost Bomb to generate a cold infusion. You can see up there, it just creates this kind of Nova. And it just does a heap of damage, and during mapping it's great because it's just a massive AoE all around you and just clears super quick. The other interactions we're using is actually a bit better to see it in the map to actually show you the rotations that I was basically using all throughout the campaign. Walk up to a pack, put down the Frost Bomb first. The idea is we want to get those cold infusions as quick as possible, but basically we'll go in, we'll use our Flame Wall. Flame Wall buffs all the projectiles that pass through it. So we'll go Frost Bomb, Flame Wall, and then Orbs, and then we'll fire our Sparks. It's a little bit rough, did I'll do it again. Basically saying along those lines. The Orb of Storms generate lightning infusions, which then also further buff our Flame Walls as well. So there's just a very good synergy all around. Frost Bomb as well now grants elemental exposure, so it also gives a damage buff. The clear, as you can see here, works really well, and I've just got into the maps. I'm literally using the same gear that I've been using probably for the last 20 levels, not even exaggerating. I'll quickly even show you my resistances are just awful, and I'm managing fine for the most part. Focus around energy shield for my defenses. I'm trying to get a couple of faster recharge nodes to get it back as quick as possible. Get out of here. In terms of the passive tree, pretty much pathed up through here first, picking up damage, mana regen. The build choose through mana, so I actually found that the mana regen helps a lot. Energy shield nodes went up first to here to try and get this spell damage. Went across here then to pick up these elemental damage and exposure bonuses. Pathed up this way first, I believe, through to this pack of elemental infusion nodes. So you can see here there's chance to not remove the infusions on the cast, 20% collectively between these three. More spell damage, while recently picking up infusions, which we're picking up all the time. Then was needing a bit of defenses, so like I said, picked up these faster startup energy shield nodes next. Came through here and picked these up. There's a nice quality cluster there. After that, I believe also got this for more mana regen and more energy shield, while then pathing up here to pick up more infusion nodes. These over here, basically, it was mostly for these three collectively, which is increasing your chance to get a bonus infusion when they drop. And finally, nearing the end of the campaign, picked up this cluster of elemental damage as well as a bit of resistance nodes, and what I'll get to very soon explaining is on Infernalist we're creating shock and ignite and freeze with the way I've set things up all the time. So this cluster here is a great damage boost along with some elemental damage. One thing which I would strongly suggest anyone thinking of doing something like this on an Infernalist, especially with Demon Form, without actually investing into any life regen nodes in this tree. As you can see, typically sometimes with Demon Form you'll come path through down here. There's a couple of life regen nodes around this area, potentially even further down here if you really want to dive deep into it. Without doing that, if you're not on Trade League, you are going to struggle to get the life regen on your gear. I've got, I think, one piece here with 12. I think the belt mostly with 27, got most of it there. You're really going to have to rely on trade to pick up the pieces. For the life regen you're going to need to sustain the 10 stacks. In fact, most of the time I didn't even have enough to perma sustain it with life regen alone. It was just pretty much just relying on my health flask to keep topping it up every, half a minute or so, or a couple of seconds if I was taking damage. Also with elemental builds, I find that you're going to be very reliant on getting spell plus the spell levels is quite early, and on 3 pieces of gear, ideally on your wand, on your focus, and on your amulet. The skill levels does really give a significant boost, especially the spark. So quickly, why Infernalist? I've always been a big Demon Mama fan, so endgame I was planning on looking into doing something with elemental infusions as well as Demon Form, trying to come up with something, or try and make a build centered around this node here, Bringer of Flame, and cast on elemental ailments, trying to have one spell applying all 3 ailments. Also, one unique that I've actually picked up as soon as I could, I believe at level 32, was this one. And the reason for that being is twofold. You get some added bonuses to your damage, as I showed you on your passive tree from Ignite. Minor, obviously, granted, but you also then get extra infusions from siphoning elements from the Ignite chance. as well as a little bit of extra damage from the ignites as well. And then combined with this ring, spark, being coupled with cold infusions, what you're really wanting to do is siphoning elements. Although I'm finding the 5% is quite low, but it does help out occasionally, is the 5% chance on freezing a target to get a cold remnant coupled with this ring. You're always freezing things. I'll even jump back into the map and show you guys. You can see here, if I don't even, I'll try and actually not even cast any of the supporting skills and just use spark by itself. You can see here, you know, things getting frozen quite a bit. Anyway, just wanted to quickly touch on that. We've covered the passive tree in terms of the abilities and some support ideas. Again, I don't want to stress this isn't a guide, this is just what I happen to slap in. It hasn't been revised or well thought out per se, but it seemed to work well for me. Starting with Spark, Control Destruction. We obviously don't have any investment into crit at the moment, so the 25% more damage is great. Projectile Acceleration. So this one at level 2, which you get a bit later on. Originally I was running Pierce for quite a while, but this Acceleration Mark 2 gives you both Pierce and projectile speed, which is fantastic for Spark. Rising Tempest, we're actually rotating through all 3 elements using Orb of Storm, Spark as lightning, Flame Wall as fire, and then Frost Bomb as frost. So this collectively gives you a 36% more damage buff. It's probably one of the best DPS gems that you can get while using Tri-Element. And then later on, obviously this is near the end of the campaign, a bit of extra cast speed. I'll probably be changing this out because I'm actually don't think that's really needed at this point. On Frost Bomb, which you're going to use quite early on, I actually deliberately use Short Fuse. You do get a little bit less exposure, but I find waiting for the Frost Bomb to go off, you're really dependent on those cold infusions ASAP. So having that period shortened while you're just zooming around the maps to pick up that cold infusion as soon as possible, it really, I can't stress enough, the Spark combined with the cold infusion is your main source of damage. It is significant. On bosses, it absolutely chunks down bosses. And then, as I showed on the passive tree, with a few extra chances to generate more remnants, I believe it's this one, as well as not triggering effects. You sometimes get these combos which just absolutely destroy bosses. So deliberately reducing the detonation time. I actually probably should look at what the Short Fuse Mark 2 or 3 is at this point, but also cooldown recovery, again, just so you can be getting those cold infusions as soon as possible. Bit more exposure effect, and again, more like, actually, you'd probably be prioritizing this in your 3rd slot or even in your 2nd, because I believe cooldown recovery you also get a bit later on. So this is, again, fantastic. Like I was saying, another further 20% chance to get an additional cold infusion. Orb of Storms, where you use it a little bit less, mostly only on bosses. You're ideally trying to combo Frost Bomb into your Firewall and then spamming Spark. Because of this, you always want to keep all 3 elements having been cast as soon as possible. And also, like I said, the cold infusion with the Spark and the Flame Wall is your brunt of your, I'd say like 90% of your damage. Firestorm, ignore this. I've been trying to play around with what to do with my fire infusions and haven't really landed on anything I like too much. Firestorms are option. I played around with Fireball as well, which consumes fire infusions. I find the Spark's just doing such a great job at clearing everything that I'm not even bothering with the fire infusions at this point, even though the Ignite from the Infernalist Ascendancy is generating a few every now and again. First Persistent, I think I was running Arctic Armor for a while. Mana Remnants is great as well, because like I said, the build does chew through mana quite a bit. But on Siphon Elements, again, 20% chance to generate additional Remnants priority, and 1% extra regen. That's basically just to help out the demon form a little bit. As you can see here, I started trying to play around some cast on ailment stuff, but without actually properly setting everything up gear and passive wise, it's just not worth it at this point. So that pretty much covers the passive tree, the gems. Like I said, gear wise, your three priorities my three priorities were level of skills, probably firstly to really boost up your damage. Secondly, and probably equally importantly, once you get demon form, is life regen. You definitely will be you definitely will be relying on trade to pick up the required 2 or 3 pieces that you really need to boost those values up to a sustainable point. And then thirdly, I would highly recommend this unique. I think I picked it up for just a couple of exalts, and then in Act 3, just YOLO corrupted it in, one of those Val crypts, the pedestal where you can corrupt something for free. And that about covers it in terms of the build. Like I said, my experience is really painless throughout the campaign. A little bit slower, mate. Definitely slower in Act 1 than Contagion ED. If someone wants to be a little bit more efficient, you could probably do the tried and tested Contagion, Essence Drain leveling build for Act 1, maybe even Act 2. But I was mostly interested in just trying something new. Other things to point out, not build related, but just in general with some of the new content. Act 4 was fun. Definitely felt quite on the long side, maybe because I was just trying to not miss anything in terms of the permanent buffs, and just in general enjoying experiencing some of the new bosses and encounters. The 3 interlude acts were nice, quick and easy, so overall a much better experience than bashing through Cruel, basically doing the whole Act 1 through 3 in full once again. Elemental Infusions, bit hard to tell whether they're going to be any good endgame. And my choice of going Infernalist might bite me in the ass if I really do try and persist with the infusions, but I'd like doing off-meta builds and not just going with what everyone else is doing, which is mostly Stormweaver. Obviously with this new ascendancies for Stormweaver, tying in with infusions probably is a safer option for anyone that just wants to focus on the elemental infusion side of things. One thing I've got a little note here, a reminder to myself to also say, in terms of a little tip, especially with this build with Frostbomb and Spark, you can actually go into boss encounters preloading your cold infusions. Just sit outside the boss chamber, put down a few frost bombs in a row. As you can see, the infusions do last quite a while, and bang, you've got your 3. The by default, I should mention the infusions are capped at 3. So if you see, if I try and generate another one, it just sits around there and I can't pick it up. But basically, you can preload all 3. You go in there, put down exposure, flame wall, curse, and then 1, 2, 3, and you'll just probably take a good third of the boss's HP off just with that, or if not more, depending on how good your gear is. Don't know if I've missed anything else. I apologize. Like I said, this is a very raw, just off the top of my head. It's been a long day, so be kind to me. If you find anything interesting, like, subscribe, helps out. I try and keep things pretty chill around here. Maybe in a day or two, once I start playing around more at endgame and actually getting a proper endgame build together, I'll post a proper guide, or I may just do an even proper leveling guide based on what I did. Like I said, I don't know if it's optimal. It may not be, but I had a pretty painless experience, so if people find any value in that, I may actually do that as well. Anyway, hope you all had fun, and we'll continue to. The league's looking pretty promising. And one last thing, just a reminder, obviously the new league mechanic, the Abyssal stuff. Yeah, good. Just adds more mob density into the maps. It's actually quite a substantial bit, and the rewards from the caches is great. If you do actually go down into the Abyssal depths, you can get some very good omens. Whether I was lucky or not, these seem really good. Basically, it just gives you a chance to desecrate an item and have a choice of selecting every single prefix suffix from the 3 that it generates on every single roll. So that omen looks good. There's also this, which I'm actually not sure what it is. I think this is the new unique modifiers. So basically these omens come from the bosses in the Abyssal depths. And again, that's it. All the best, guys. Again, apologies yet again for the raw nature of the video. I'll do a cleaner version of everything tomorrow or the day after. Enjoy.